What up, you fluffy bastards? My name is Liquid Blitz, and welcome to the fourth superclass in my superclass series. This one is called the Guardian class. Rise up, sons of war! As you've probably guessed from the name of this class, this is a medic superclass, finally. The layout of this video is going to be the same as the other superclasses. First of all, I'm going to quickly go through the loadout, but that's going to be very fast. Then I'm going to switch all the background to gameplay for the rest of the video and go through the strengths and the tips of this class. Right, now let's get straight into the class loadout. Now, I'm not going to go into massive detail about why I've chosen each of these things just yet. I'll get into all of those decisions and why I've chosen these things in the strengths and the tips section. For now, I'm just going to rattle them off. Especially the weapon. My decision to make that was not easy, and I will go into great detail about that in just a minute. So if you're thinking, oh, why the hell have I chosen that weapon? This weapon's better or that weapon's better. Bear with me just for now and hear me out in a minute. But I've chosen the Zelbslater M1916 factory. I find it hard to pronounce, so for the rest of this video, I'm going to call that the Zelb. So if you hear me say Zelb, I mean that. The Zelbslater factory version. Specifically the factory version. Anyway, moving on. Sidearm, we have the M1914 because it's got they've all got good hip fire, really, but that's got the fastest fire rate joint with the Calibri, and it's got a decent damage and accuracy for one of the easier to control pistols. It's got a good mag size, good rate of fire. That's why I've chosen that. Now, equipment slot 1, I've gone for the medic pack, the health pack, the bandage pouch. That's a weird name. But yeah, the bandage pouch. Now, I was going to choose the rifle grenade smoke here to give you concealment when you're reviving people. I mean, which is a great strength. But again, I'll get into that. That's a specific tip that I'll give towards the end of the video. But I decided against it because I've decided that the smoke grenade achieves the same thing and it frees up an equipment slot for you to equip the health kit, which gives yourself a very fast self-heal and it lets you heal all your teammates and heal them on the move, which is very integral to this class. Also integral to this class, vital to this class, is the medic syringe. Now, you're going to be spending half the time reviving people, which is going to get you the massive scores with this superclass. So that's absolutely vital as well. So health and revive. And as I said, smoke grenades to give you concealment for when you're reviving people. But more on that later. Anyway, let's move on. Let's talk about the strengths of this class. First of all, as you've just seen, this superclass is using the medic class. I've finally done a medic superclass. And this is designed for fat XP. This is designed for huge scores. If you play this class well, you will end up at the top, the tippy top of the scoreboard. As you know if you've played any decent medic class before. Right, as I just alluded to, you may be wondering why the hell I've chosen this weapon over all the other ones. I mean, the medic class above all others, people tend to have their favourites in this class, but the weapons are all so well balanced. Basically, out of all the superclasses I've done so far, this is the only one where the weapon is almost optional. I'm going to give you two options for this weapon. I've chosen an official one to use, but there's a secondary one, which is sort of in case you prefer that one, you can use that one instead, and it pretty much achieves the same thing. The weapon was such a hard decision because they're all so well balanced and they're all good at different things. In the end, it came down to a few factors. Firstly, I don't personally find 5 rounds to be enough, at least to get multiple kills, so every single gun in the medic class with a 5-round magazine size is immediately ruled out. But the main factor was that my weapon choice had to be decent in every single situation. Close range, medium range, and long range. In other words, it had to be an all-rounder, which didn't narrow down the choice by much. But I decided that this pretty much ruled out the Sei Rigotti and I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, the Chai Rigotti and the M1907. I pretty much decided it ruled both of those out because they're very good at close range, especially with the automatic function turned on, but they're not as, they just don't cut it at long ranges, I'm afraid, compared to the others. And because they're not as well balanced, that rules those two out as well. All variations of those two. Let's just rule out weapon variants for a second. Now we're down to the Zelb, the Auto-Loading 8 and the Mondragon. Now here's the crux of the issue. The Zelb and the Mondragon both kill in 3 shots at any range. But the auto-loading takes 5 shots beyond 28 meters specifically. Now the auto-loading does fire much faster than the other two, and kills in 3 shots up close, just like the Mondragon and the Zelb. So considering its faster fire rates, up close the auto-loading extended version is probably better than the Mondragon and the Zelb. But at medium and long range the auto-loading just doesn't compare to them. And because it's not as good as medium to long range, I've ruled that out now. So now my choice of weapon is down to two, the Zelbzlata and the Mondragon. Now we're down to just the two, let's look at the variants of both these remaining two. For a start, because I want my chosen weapon to be good at all ranges, this pretty much instantly rules out the Zelb Marksman and the Mondragon Sniper. They're both absolutely excellent for sort of medium to long range, but they're not as good close up. So now my choice is down to optical for both, or the factory Zelb, or the Mondragon Storm. Now, the optical versions of these two, the optical versions of any weapon, are very good at making accurate shots at long range, but they just can't contend with the anti-recoil strength of factory weapons and storm weapons. So now I can rule out the optical versions of both the Zelb and the Mondragon. So now we're down to two specific weapons, the Zelb Factory and the Mondragon Storm. Can you see now why this superclass took me so long to figure out? The weapon was such a hard decision. Now, it's worth saying at this stage, before I explain my final choice, that both of these guns are excellent, and they're both very similar in terms of handling. So for this superclass, I've officially chosen the Zelb Factory, but if you prefer the Mondragon Storm, if you've got a particular love for that, then that is allowed for this superclass. You're allowed to use it because it achieves the same thing, really. Now, for those of you who want to know the details of like Factory versus Storm, I made a video a while back discussing exactly what each variant type does. But I'm going to try and give you a very short version of that right now to help me explain my decision between these two guns. I'm going to try and keep this as simple as humanly possible. The factory weapons recover from recoil much faster, but the Storm variants have less recoil in the first place. Now, what does this mean for you when you're actually playing? Basically, it means that when you're firing at a weapon's fastest fire rate, basically spamming the weapon, it means the Storm weapon is more accurate because it does less recoil per shot, so it climbs slower. Whereas the factory weapon has no time to recover from each shot's recoil. So when firing very fast at a weapon's maximum fire rate, the Storm version is the best. But when you're pausing even a little bit between shots to be more accurate, perhaps you're at medium to long range, when you're pausing a little bit between shots, the factory version is more accurate because the tiny pause after each shot means it recovers faster from the recoil and spread. Do you see the difference? Fast spamming fire, Storm is better. But taking your time, trying to be more accurate and maybe pausing a little bit between each shot, factory is best. Now, I will quickly interject, outside of this medic superclass, it means that with automatic weapons like SMGs and LMGs, the factory versions of weapons like the Hellriegel, they are better to fire burst fire rather than fully automatic. Otherwise, you might as well go with like a Storm variant. So that's a good rule of thumb. With factory weapons, you want to be burst firing or taking your time between shots. That's what factory is good at. Anyway, now that I've told you that, I hope that helps you make a decision about which weapon to use in future. Now, very generally speaking, everything I just told you means that Storm is pretty much better for close range, and Factory is better for medium range. And as for long ranges, that's when your optical and your sighted guns come into play. That's when they are best. And basically, because medium is sort of the middle ground, that pretty much made the decision for me. Because Storm is better for close range, Factory is better at medium range, I chose the medium weapon. I chose the Zelb Factory because of this. So while I've chosen the Zelb Factory for the main weapon of this superclass, if A, you prefer the Mondragon Storm, use that instead because they're both such good weapons. And B, if you're on a more sort of close range map, you may want to choose the Mondragon Storm over this on purpose, just because it fires a little bit faster. And yeah, because of the reason I've just given you about the Storm versions being better at close range. So basically, either of these weapons are excellent for this superclass. Let's move on. Another strength is that the Zelb Factory has a large-ass 26-round magazine, which makes it a lot easier to get multi-kills with. Easier than the Mondragon Storm, which only has 10 rounds, but don't get me wrong, when deciding between these two guns, like for the official one for the superclass, the mag size was not a factor. I consider 10 rounds perfectly adequate for getting multi-kills with, so that wasn't a deciding factor between me choosing one weapon over the other. And next onto the pistol, the M1914. Now, I think I already said it has the fastest fire rate out of all the pistols, joint with the Calibri, and it has a large mag size of 9. So it's great for hip firing at close, giving you a close range option. If someone runs around the corner and for some reason you're not comfortable using the rifle, just switch to your pistol. Now, the next strength is an all-rounder, the health kit, the bandage pouch, I think it's called in this game. What a piece of kit! This is going to get you massive points. And it lets you heal yourself to full very fast, making this class better than really any other at keeping yourself alive after taking damage. And obviously it lets you heal all your teammates around you on the move for more points. Now I will quickly say, keep in mind that you can throw the health pack surprisingly far to teammates. So if you see teammate like 15 to 20 meters, well, I don't know about 20 meters, but let's say 15 meters away, you can just press your health pack button and it can throw it a good distance. So don't be scared to throw your health packs around the battlefield like a maniac. And finally, the smoke grenades provide concealment for you to revive your teammates. Now that is so important that I've given that its own little section in the tips in a minute. So speaking of the tips, let's move on to them. Now the tips I've got for this class are the difference between you coming top of the scoreboard and you just dying constantly when you're trying to revive teammates. My advice is, first of all, the big one, don't revive every dead teammate. You need to decide if it's worth the risk. If the dead player is sort of out in the open or is surrounded by enemies or generally sort of under a wall of gunfire, and you know there's like a 90% chance that if you try and revive this person, you're going to die, then there's no point even trying to revive him. Pick your battles well, or pick your revivals well. Basically, if you think there's a damn good chance you're going to die if you try to revive this certain teammate, then it's going to bring you less points in the long run. Healing and reviving teammates is all good and well, and the delicious XP is delicious, but keeping yourself alive is more important in the long run. Now, as I just said, use smoke to conceal yourself so that you can revive teammates without getting shot. The point of this class is to be right there in the middle of the action. So if you see one or several teammates sort of die, throw both your smokes out in different directions, giving you as much concealment as possible. Then run out into the open and revive them. I would advise you wait for the smoke to actually explode and start filling the air a little bit before you run out of cover. Because basically, if you just throw your smokes out and instantly run out, people can still see you for a little bit, so you might get spotted. And if you get spotted, I think the spot remains regardless of whether or not there is smoke in the way, so they can just shoot you straight through the smoke. So let your smoke grenades actually smoke the area first. Unless they're morons, the teammates will stay there and wait for a revive. Now my next tip is to throw down your health picks whenever they're available. They recharge pretty damn quickly. You want to get into the habit of throwing down your health packs, even if you and your teammates are at full health. Especially when you're near the front lines and there's like enemies beyond the next rock. Throwing them down by default, just in preparation, will get you more points in the long run, I think. Now it goes without saying, always throw your health pack to a wounded teammate, even if they're only a little bit wounded. This will give them the best chance at staying alive should they take more damage, for example. And let's be real, if you keep your teammates' health up, then you're giving them a better chance at survival, which gives you more survivability as well. Basically, the more teammates alive around you, the safer you are, so keep your teammates topped up at all times if you can help them. Now the next tip I've got for you is more of a sort of a playstyle tip, really. Don't be scared to get stuck right into the action. This class isn't about hiding behind cover until a teammate needs a heal or a revive. While that is very much central to this class for getting the really, really high scores, this class is designed for you to be dangerous yourself with that weapon and rack up a load of kills. The healing and reviving is I'm not going to go as far as to call it a side thing, but it's something you should just be doing at the same time, really. So get stuck in and go for kills yourself. As I'm sure you can see, pretty much once you get to grips with the Zelb Factory, or the Mondragon Storm if you prefer, and you learn how to aim really well with your chosen weapon, you can become seriously sort of accurate and fast at killing. And you're going to be racking up those kills more than you could ever have believed possible of the Medic class. And then basically on top of that, all the healing and reviving you're going to be doing, that's what's going to boost you to the top of the scoreboard. So that's all the strengths and tips of this class. That's all I've got for you. I mean, I will end this video by saying, as I've said, I've chosen the Zelb Factory, but if you're on a particularly sort of close range map, you might want to go for the Mondragon because it's better at close range. It fires faster, and because it's the Storm variant, if you spam it as fast as it can be fired, it's actually more accurate than the Zelb Factory. The Zelb Factory is better for the big open sort of open air maps where you're going to be medium range most of the time. That's where the Zelb is better. But that's it. I want to hear your opinion on which you prefer out of these two weapons. This is literally it. I couldn't decide. I chose the Zelb Factory in the end because for some reason, I felt I was better with it. But that's only because most of the testing I did for this class, I did in sort of big open maps. So I wasn't spamming really fast. There were lots of close range encounters where I was using the Zelb Factory and I thought, shit, I wish I was using the Mondragon Storm. It's basically, I was switching between the two and I just couldn't make my mind up. So I want to hear your thoughts of which you prefer, the Zelb Factory or the Mondragon Storm. My reasoning behind getting rid of all the other variants, I mean, a lot of you might use like the Mondragon Sniper or the Mondragon Optical, and they are good, but they're not as balanced as simply the Storm is. So let me hear your thoughts. That's what I want, your thoughts! Like this video if you liked it, like this video if you didn't like it. And join me in my next video. I've got a feeling my next video is going to be a guide, like I did the Ultimate Guide. What a giant ego name. The Ultimate Guide to Tank Killing. But I think my next video is going to be the Ultimate Guide to Sniping. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see. Join me then anyway.